What we have in front of us here today is an iPhone XR. And this one came in because the customer was having problems with the dictation function. So, Hey Siri would not work, or the phone would not recognize when you say Hey Siri. And the other problem was when you went into dictation mode, let's say you're in a text message or you're taking some notes, the phone will not recognize the speech. I've done some research into this, and what I found was that for general dictation, Siri uses a microphone which is underneath the speaker grill here. Now, that microphone is attached to a cable that has a Face ID sensor and a proximity sensor as well. What we're going to do now is I'm going to go over to the PC and I'm going to show you the parts that you need to get to do this repair. And it's not straightforward. There are some complexities which I need to explain to you as well. So let's move over to the PC and I'll talk to you about that now. Okay, so the part that we need to replace is called an iPhone XR front top speaker earpiece. Okay, if you type in any of those words into the search box, you'll get a list of them that come up. But this is essentially what we're dealing with here. You've got a speaker here, okay, you've got proximity sensor, Face ID sensor, or the other way around, I can't remember. This here is the microphone, this tiny little piece here, which I'll show you in detail under the microscope in a minute. But this becomes faulty, and then Siri will just not recognize the voice or the dictation. So when I said it was a bit complicated, I want to explain to you what it is. This part here, if you have a look here, it says here, Face ID will still not work even if you install another original part. The Face ID sensor has coding that is just compatible with the phone, with the original phone. Both should be from the same phone. Right, so what this basically saying is that the Face ID on this piece here, on this sensor here, has a code which is recognized or programmed into the main phone. So what happens is if you remove this whole cable and get another one from a working phone and try to put it on, your Face ID will stop working because the replacement part that you installed does not have the code required to make the Face ID work. Right, now there are two ways around this. Number one is if the customer needs the dictation more than they need the Face ID, because you can still use numeric passcode if you want. You can set a 4-digit or a 6-digit numeric passcode. You don't need to have the Face ID. Then what you can do is you can just replace this whole piece and dictation will be back, but your Face ID will not work. Okay. The other option is you try to remove this microphone from here, from this part, and remove it from the faulty part and then replace the microphone. That way your sensor's still working, your Face ID is still working, and all you did was replace the microphone. But the problem with that is this microphone here, it's a very tiny, delicate device. So if you apply too much heat to it, it gets damaged. So what we're going to do today, I spoke to the customer and I explained that to them. And they said that, if the Face ID goes, they don't mind because they can use a passcode and they're happy, but they need the dictation facility more than the Face ID. But what we're going to do is we're going to attempt to remove the microphone from the old part, okay, and we're going to see how easily it comes off. Depending on how easily the solder melts and it comes off, we'll be able to figure out if we'll be able to take the new one off and fit it on here. And at worst comes to worst, if none of it works out, I can always order a new part here. It's not too expensive. They're about £7 to £10. This part is. So I can always order a new part and just install it, and he won't have Face ID, but he will have the dictation function working again. So I just thought I'd make you aware of those issues if you're about to do this repair or before you start this repair. So let's switch over to the microscope, and I'm going to show you close up what this part looks like. The other part that you'll also need to do this repair is an iPhone XR front speaker mesh. So if you type in iPhone XR front speaker mesh, then you should get loads of these come up here, and this is what it looks like basically for Apple iPhone 11 or this one here. Here you go, for Apple iPhone XR front speaker mesh, and as you can see, it's just a mesh with a grounding point on it. Because what happens is this part here, your speaker grill, the front earpiece speaker grill, you can't see it on here, but I did have one close up earlier. I think I've chucked it away now. But these holes, these tiny holes inside here, they fill up with dirt, and eventually they'll just stop the microphone from picking up the sounds. So the first obviously point of call is to clean the speaker grill or the mesh and see if that gives you any improvement in your dictation. If it still doesn't, then unfortunately you're going to have to replace. I'll give you a little tip here. If you want to remove the dirt which is stuck inside this grill here, just pumping it with air, with an air blaster, won't do it. What you need to do is get some glue tack, okay, and press it in to the mesh, and that will suck off or pull off most of the dirt. And then you can use like a wired brush to brush it all off if you want. So if you have a look here, this is the microphone, okay, and if you have a look on the other side, this is the hole for the pickup of the microphone, okay. Now the problem is, what happens is when people are trying to take these off, what they do, the mistake that they make, is they use very thick flux, right? And because this part is very delicate, as you can imagine, if flux gets inside that bottom hole underneath here, if it's thick flux, that's going to affect the microphone or the quality of the sound that it's going to pick up. So the trick is, what you have to do is you have to use a very light solvent-based flux. You put it on and it doesn't leave any residue, right? So you put it all over around here, you heat up your iron, you hold this with a tweezer, and you put the iron on top, and hopefully that should provide enough heat for this just to slide off. To remove that speaker or that microphone, what I'm going to be using today is a flux called Topnic AG5, and the reason why I'm going to use this rather than the thicker flux is because this is it's like isopropyl alcohol in a way. It dries up and it doesn't leave a residue, and that's exactly what we want, because that tiny component, that microphone, we don't want to disturb it, or we want the least amount of disturbance to it. So we're going to flood it with this. We're going to use a soldering iron at 350 degrees, and we're going to see if we can heat it up and remove it from the cable. If it can be removed, then it can be attached with the same amount of heat as well, and we shouldn't have much problems. So let's try that now. So what I've done, I've just grabbed a piece of metal to act as a heatsink from the bottom, and I'm just going to hold this down with my tweezers. Okay, and I'm gonna flood the mic with some Topnic AG5, and then I'm gonna see if I can heat it up and remove it. So here we go. That's a good amount of Topnic there. That should be enough. And let's get our iron, and we should be good to go. Right, let's have a look. Alright, for this bottom piece here, I'm going to use some standard flux, which is a bit more thicker, so I don't destroy the cable. Okay, so you can see that there. I'm just going to gently go over it. Just clean it up. That bridge on the first two pins over there, that doesn't matter because those two are connected internally. So that should be okay. Okay, so we've got the new microphone here, and we're going to flood it with Topnic AG5, and we're going to attempt to remove it as cleanly as possible. Again, got the soldering iron up to 350, and just waiting for it to warm up. And here we go. Okay, so that doesn't look too bad. Now let's just check if we've got continuity between these 2 points here. So that's fine. So that means if these two are bridging on the old connector, it's not going to be a problem. This is not touching that. This is not. This is ground. That's ground. This is not ground. 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 Ground and ground. That's fine. So I think we should be fine. Let's install this onto the old connector, and let's see if we can get it working. I might have to wick up some of this before I can. If you can see this here, the hole is covered up, where it should be picking up the volume, so that's not going to be very good. So what we need to do before we move any further, we need to deal with this. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to wick this up and see if I can get that solder to come up from here, which is what I'm going to try and do. Right, I've got the iron 350, and I'm going to attempt to clean this up. Yep. And that should be fine. So let's try and stick this on to the old cable. The cable. So that's why I'm just trying to use this method here. Okay, now let's turn it around and see. And if you can see here at the bottom, we haven't gone too far off the mark. The hole is still quite visible. So I'm just going to clean all of this up now, and we'll put it back into the phone, and we'll see if the job was a success. You see what I mean about using a very light flux at the bottom? If we had used the thick flux, the Amtech flux, all of this would have been flooded with that thick flux, and it would have been impossible to take it out. But this flux here, it's a solvent-based flux, so it just dries and it doesn't leave any residue. We didn't do too bad. Let's see whether it works. But before I do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the speaker mesh, which I didn't show you earlier on, but I've got it here. I'm going to attach that, and then I'll put the speaker module back into its place. Okay, so I've got the replacement speaker mesh here, and this is what it looks like. Right, all we're going to do is we're going to turn it over, and we're going to stick it into here. So watch what I do. Okay, so we're back at the demonstration table, and we've got our LCD with our new part fitted here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly put this back together, and we'll start our tests. So we've attached the speaker, the mic, and the Face ID sensor cable. We've attached the two cables for the LCD, and all we now have left to do is attach the battery connector and put the battery cover on, and we should be good to go. Right, it's all done. So let's put it back and let's run some tests. Okay, so when it's time to do your testing, it's important to remember that there are 4 microphones on the iPhone XR. You've got one mic here, located here, another one located here. Okay, you've got one located here behind the mesh, and there's another one on the back above the flash or below the flash. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4 microphones, and I'm gonna tell you now how you can test each of those microphones. Okay, so the way you test the bottom 2 is very simple. You can call anybody in your contacts, or you can get a second phone, make a call to that phone. When you speak into the bottom here, if you can hear the output clearly on the phone that you're calling, then that means both of your bottom microphones are working. Okay, and if you want to test them individually, you can cover this hole here and speak in to this microphone, and the sound should come out there, and then you can cover this one and speak into that one, right, and the sound should come out of the phone that you're sending it to. If you cover one and you speak into the other one and you're not getting any sound, then most likely that microphone is faulty. One of them, you'll be able to figure it out which one of them two is faulty. So that's how you test the bottom 2 microphones. The way you test the microphone behind the grill here, what you do is you switch the phone on. Let's do that now actually, because this is the microphone that we had problems with. You switch the phone on, you put it into camera, right, and you face the camera forwards and you record the forward image. When you record the forward image from the front camera, the phone takes the sound from the mic behind here. That's how you test the microphone behind here. If you want to test the microphone at the back of the phone, just take a normal video, right? Take a normal video like that, like you would, pointing the phone at whatever you're trying to record, and then the sound should be picked up from this microphone here. And that is how you test all 3 microphones on the iPhone XR. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a quick microphone test for the front camera, which is the one that we were having problems with, for the front microphone, and we're going to see if it works. So let's try that now. Let's go into camera, right, let's go to video, right, and we're going to switch to the front. So that's the front there. Okay, and we're going to press record. Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing, testing. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. So let's play that back and let's see if it picked up the sound. Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing, testing. 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, so as you can see, our replacement was a success, and the phone is now picking up sound from the front microphone here, which it wasn't doing before. With that, we're going to wrap it up for today's video, and until the next time, bye for now and have a nice day.